What's up, everybody? We're back again with another immediate reaction podcast. The Bears lose to the Bucs 38-3 in pretty embarrassing fashion. And Jackie, before I throw it over you to get some thoughts, I'm fucking ecstatic. These are the losses that we need to get Matt Nagy out of here, to be honest with you. I tried to explain it to a friend before this game, and he was like, man, I really hope we can win in spite of Nagy, just sort of like the talent supersedes. And I'm like, that's just going to keep him here. I'm not rooting for them to lose, but am I upset that they lose? No, I'm not. It's just, it is what it is. But this goes to what we were saying with the Packers game, with the Raiders game. This style of play, this is what it looks like when people really are coming at you. When there's a team, when the GOAT is like, hey, no, we're not keeping this close. We're gonna step on their fucking throat all night. You know what I mean? And Aaron Rodgers could have did that if he wanted to. He seemed to be going through the motions. He didn't care too much about that game. It's like that's our point right there, is because this type of game shows you what you have in a coach and an offensive scheme and an offensive play caller. Because when we're able to just control the clock and it looks close on the scoreboard, even though we all know we're not in the game, he keeps his job. Because it's like, oh, well, if one play, Jack, if Darnell just makes that catch, if this just, maybe there is no if this, we got outclassed. It shows you that there's levels to this.
Yeah.
And the central theme being Matt Nagy. Just some immediate thoughts from the game, Jack.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily angry about the final result, because I think you and I both we both picked the Buccaneers to win this game. You and I were both a little confused why it was not I guess it was kind of prime time, because it's there's only so many games playing in the late afternoon window. But this had Nance and Romo, and this is a game that a lot of people are going to be watching, and it's just never really understood it. So the final score, I guess, that's not really what upsets me. And honestly, Frank, I really wasn't getting all that upset during the game. The only parts where I was, first of all, people who are saying, well, what if Justin Fields just isn't good? And it's like, how can you, first of all, it's his fifth start. Second of all, he's playing the Super Bowl winning defense. It's the same exact defense except a worse secondary, because everybody's hurt. But Frank, that's what they expected. So the Bears decided to run the ball with Khalil Herbert. Which is great. And, Jim Nance and Tony Romo looking for anything positive to discuss Bears-wise. They're like, oh, this kid looks really good. It's really working. It's like, yeah, it's working. They scored 3 points, though. So, what are we doing here? Again, no deep balls. Just, the one that was thrown was intercepted because Justin Fields underthrew out. They're just not on the same page. I don't know what is going on with Allen Robinson and Justin Fields, but Allen Robinson, I think, yes, it was an underthrown ball, but Allen Robinson kind of just kept running. He was just going to keep going instead. But Justin Fields, I think, was throwing it to a part of the field where it was going to be kind of go and get it. So that was a little, they didn't really attack the secondary. Again, 5-yard dig routes, over the middle stuff. And there are two things that really started to piss me off. Number one, the drop passes. Did drop balls lose the Bears the game? No, because that game was just, it was never going to be close. But you have to help out your quarterback.
Yep.
Cole Kmet had one. Darnell Mooney had one. It's not necessarily game-changing. It wasn't touchdown drops
Horst did have a touchdown drop.
Yes, he
did have one. Yep.
And that was a good throw. And it was a good throw, but then for some reason Nagy decides to kick a field goal while they're down 28-3. It's like, what are we doing here? So that's what I was starting to get pissed off about, because it's not. I just don't get how people are saying, well, maybe Justin Fields just isn't good. It's like, are you guys watching the game? He literally has no time to throw the football. Yeah. They're on him in seconds. Nobody's helping him out. The guys are just dropping balls. They're not running all the way to the first down marker. It's these little things that just constantly hit the Bears. And then the second thing that really pissed me off, in a good way, I think, was just hearing Tony Romo, someone who's been a NFL quarterback and a really good one, just the way he was breaking it down about what the Bears should be doing and how simple it sounded, I was getting pissed off because I'm like, we hear this every week. Every expert, every announcer, everyone who watches the Bears says the same thing about what they should be doing. And I started to get more and more pissed because I'm like, why aren't they doing it?
Yeah.
It's not that hard. And it's just these little things with Matt Nagy, his just stubbornness to just do the basics. Like the first play they run is that like weird pitch to the left. I'm like, can we just run a fucking offense? They win the toss, he chooses to receive. Why? What the fuck is he doing, man?
Yeah.
Let's establish a tone. Establish it on defense, man. You get the ball at the second half. What the fuck are you doing? I don't get it, man.
I literally in my notes, I take notes every game just so, when we do these, I can have something to reference so I don't forget things. And I wrote first play is a toss from the shotgun. This game is over already. I knew what was going to happen. Yeah. Like just that was like, okay, this is what we're doing today. A few things that you said that I want to piggyback off of. I went to Reddit for the game thread just to see what are we feeling. Let's fire Nagy. And there's like way too many people like, yeah, man, I just don't think Fields is it. And I'm like, one, I'm not too worked up about the underthrown ball to Robinson. It looked to me, and this isn't even to make an excuse, even if it was a poor pass, let's just chalk it up to a poor pass. He's a rookie. That's going to happen. It is what it is. Like, I'm not fretting over that. Like, we're talking about a guy in his fifth start who didn't get to work with the ones at all offseason, was thrown in because of an injury and a game script that wasn't his. So it's like you kind of throw that game out the window as well. And then the very next game against Cleveland, they just get shellacked. You know what I mean? It's like we're dealing with someone who's still getting on the same page with his weapons. And it's evident what you talked about with Allen Robinson. Like this has been happening all year. You think back to last week when he's scrambling out and he thinks he has the free play and Robinson's running to him instead of running to the corner of the end zone. I mean, it's we've seen this. So anyone who thinks that, it's like, there are so many more positives to what's happening with Justin Fields than there are negatives. His ball placement is something that I haven't seen before in a Bears uniform. He puts throws on the money. He doesn't miss when he has time, he doesn't miss. The one thing I think I would like to see more of is he has to start distrusting this offensive line a little bit. Like he's back there, like these guys know what they're doing. Like, and it's not even that he's holding the ball too long the majority of the time. It's not that. It's just that like, he's taking these 4 7-step drops like he has time to take. And it's like, dude, you're going to have to be one read and go sometime. I get like, and this was our criticism of Nagy when we really started to like, okay, does this guy know what he's doing in 2019 when Mitch just stopped running the ball. And then the reports came out of like, yeah, they don't want him to. They're scared. He hurt his shoulder. They're scared that he's going to get hurt. And 2, they want him to read his progressions. And it's like, that's fine, but you can like mix it in. Every play doesn't have to be one read and go. But that's how you establish rhythm too. That's how you get the ball moving. That's how you throw defenses off. But it's like, it just seems like defenses have really caught on to that. Have you seen at all anyone, and you're talking about just based off ability, one of the best running quarterbacks in football. He runs a 4.4. Have you seen any linebacker spy him once? Can you think of one time?
No, because they know
they don't
that
let him run.
Yeah.
That's my point. And the last thing I wanted to touch on to piggyback off of you, and really this is my last point. This is one reason why I really dislike the sort of regional commentators or like the general commentators, because you got guys who are good, and Nance and Romo are very good. But if we had local guys, I would love to hear what they're saying on the radio. I mean, I think of like some of these bad Bull seasons and like Stacey King like ripping into players. Like, because he's been there, he's there, he talks to them in the locker room, he sees it, like he knows what's happening, and he's really able to dissect and even like is emotionally invested in it. And it can be like, look, your effort needs to be better or whatever the critique is. These guys are critiquing Nagy, but they're like taking half steps because they don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. They don't want to, you know what I mean? Like, and we've heard the same things for 3 weeks now. Yeah, they have to do this. They can simplify this game plan. They should be doing this a little bit more. And like, what the average listener has to take that as is like, you're fucking terrible. You're not playing to this kid's strengths and you need to go, because national commentators aren't going to talk that way. They can't talk that way. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, It's not what they're trained to do. They're not allowed to do things like that. But if we had someone local every single week, I mean, he would be ripped to shreds by these guys. And I wouldn't doubt that Joniak is doing. I rarely listen to the radio during the games, but it's like that's the one thing that annoys me. Is like they're saying it without really saying it, and it's like we can all see it. And again, that goes back to Justin Fields. I'm seeing so many more positives out of this kid, and really my only critique is like just pull it down sooner. I know Nagy's probably telling you not to, but you have to. Like, you're getting killed in this pocket. You have to look out for you at the end of the day. You're gonna have a new coach next year. Don't sacrifice your body for this guy because he didn't know what the fuck he's doing. And really that's my only critique from him. I mean, he again, the ball placement is there. His ability to read defenses is there. He's starting to, you see it week by week. He's adjusting to the speed of this game. He's letting the ball out earlier. He's not holding it as much consistently. There's still times where he could probably let it go a little sooner, but he looks good. He looks like a professional quarterback that is in need of someone who can continue to develop him.
Yeah. Just again, to suggest that it's somehow this game, the Packers game, it's an indictment on Justin Fields' ability. I just don't. I don't understand how this correlates. How people watch that game and say, "Yeah, Justin Fields, man, he stinks." It's like, what are you watching? And again, if it's the same thing happening to a quarterback that was also in Matt Nagy's system, Mitch Trubisky, and essentially the same thing happens, then it's not the quarterbacks. I'm not saying that Mitch is a good quarterback, or because I think the NFL, no one really going out and signing him as a starter. I think that speaks volumes, right? But I do think that Mitch could have been developed into a better quarterback if there was a better system around him. Like, I think that he probably could be doing what Jimmy Garoppolo is doing in San Francisco for a better team, a better coach team. I really do. I think he has, maybe he's not as good as Jimmy Garoppolo, but he has similar skill set. Like, I think he can, there's just some of that ball placement stuff that I think can be worked on. I'm not saying his accuracy can really improve that much. I know that accuracy is one of the harder things to develop, but, and that's why I think people should be excited about Justin Fields, regardless of how many intercept like this. I think what's frustrating for me is that, when we talked about interceptions not really being a big deal for you or I in terms of how we are evaluating Justin Fields, we want him, if he's going to make mistakes, that's fine. We want to see those, but it's like interceptions coming off of like tipped balls, guys just not making, the effort to get the play. Like, and then you get the stuff with, again, Bilal Nichols, another Bears player getting ejected from a game for punching someone with a helmet on. Like, what? Why does this continue to happen? I really do not understand why this continues to happen under Matt Nagy coach teams. Like, you look at the aggressiveness from Dan Campbell in that Lions game against the Rams, and he's going all out, right? He's doing everything he fucking can. He's got the fake punt. He's going with the onside kick and the second possession. He's doing everything he can because he's playing to win, where Matt Nagy is, again, just like when I first saw it that they won the coin toss and they elected to receive, I was kind of like, okay, all right, getting a little aggressive here.
Yeah.
And then the first play is a shotgun snap pitch, and then the next play is a 5-yard comebacker. It's just like, man, can you just get a little aggressive in your play calling? Can we just do something a little bit? It's just not entertaining, and there's no value to watching these Bears games. We're getting nothing of it. And I know Matt Nagy won't be fired. I know Ryan Pace won't be fired after this game. They should be. They absolutely should be. They scored 3 points on prime TV. Like, that's not. Come on, that's not good enough.
This isn't modern football. I'm sitting here watching the Lions on Red Zone. They're moving the ball. Khalif Raymond is making play. I mean, what are we taught? We have more talent than that. We 100% do. I get that our O-line is bad, but they run block very well. We have the weapons. We have someone who has just natural ability. Like, if you have a real offensive scheme and offensive coach in here, again, I don't know if that leads to more wins. We're more watchable. Like, we have the talent to do some of these things that people are doing around the league, and it's just this coaching staff is inept. And you're talking about And that was one thing I loved that Tony Romo pulled out when he was like, look, he was like, Mac Jones has been the best quarterback so far this year from these rookies, but he has 7 touchdowns and 6 picks on 1,400 yards. Like, no one's doing amazing. And he has been with the one since the preseason. Like, he took that job very, very early. And it was going into week 1, he had already had familiarity with that, with not only the playbook, but his weapons. And so you can't even make an apples to apples comparison to that. Yeah. Because again, we're talking about a kid who his coach, I seriously think if you left it up to Matt Nagy, he would not be starting yet.
Yeah, I still think, I mean, I saw a lot of people talking about how Dalton should be in at halftime. And I'm like, guys.
Again, but but for me, that's from meatball fans that think like that mediocrity is going to sneak us into the playoffs and do what for us. Right. Again, at this very moment, can Andy Dalton run this terrible offense better than Justin Fields? Yes. We've conceded that. But this year, to me, has always been about getting Justin Fields the amount of reps, to get him as many reps as possible. I don't care how many games we win. This is about him. And Matt Nagy never got that because he's an idiot. He's fucking clueless. He has no idea what he's doing. Again, this goes back to what I said last week. He saves his job no matter how many wins and losses they have if Justin Fields goes out and looks good and he continues to get better every single week, no matter how many wins it is. If from week 1 to week 17, he goes from looking like a rookie quarterback to someone that's like, hey, this kid is here. And that hasn't come close because Matt Nagy just doesn't, he has no idea what he's doing. And he's not calling the plays anymore. And this isn't to absolve Bill Lazor of anything, but again, this is still Matt Nagy's playbook and his concept. This is his offensive scheme. So it's like there's only so much that's why it still ultimately falls on him. If he tries to pull the offense still can't do anything, even though I'm not calling the play. Like, no, this is your scheme, man. This is your style of offense.
And it's still him setting the lineups. And something that we touched on offline right before we started recording was, like, it's great that Alex Bars came in and played right tackle. And look, I know it was tough, losing their second string Elijah Wilkinson to COVID. Like, and first of all, that needs to be Damian Williams. Like, he unvaccinated player, and he cost the team certain guys. Like, the guys were not available because they were exposed to the coronavirus. Like, it's that simple. And it is tough losing your second string right tackle right before the game starts. But you're around this team all the time. Alex Bars steps right in to right tackle and performs adequately. Like, he's not getting blown around. Like, Jason Pierre-Paul looked like vintage Jason Pierre-Paul.
Yeah.
Giants pitch with all of his fingers.
Like 10 fingers. Yeah.
Like 10 fingers Jason Pierre-Paul. Like, he looked good. And again, that's part of where I'm saying that Justin Fields, like, I don't understand how you go and you just say all of that's on him. Like, he had literally no time to throw. And it's on Matt Nagy it's the same thing that happened last year. Whereas James Daniels had said, we like him at center. We really want him at center. And it's like Sam Mustafar steps right in and boom, there's your starting center. Move James Daniels. Oh, right guard soft.
I mean, you immediately upgrade, 2 positions at once.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
But Matt Nagy, he can't recognize these things. And I think that's an indictment to him as a head coach. And like I know they were playing it up for the TV sake because in the third quarter when your game is 35-3 and they're just like, we need to keep people here, we want to keep that viewership. And they're like, look at that defensive stand fighting. The defense still fighting hard. That's a good sign. It's like, guys, they scored 3 points. Yeah, like, what are we? It's one thing, Frank, if the head coach is Sean McDermott, or if it's Mike Tomlin, or if it's a defensive guy, like, okay, maybe the team isn't there, the offense is there, but the defense is still showing hard. Like, to be fair, something we haven't touched on is the defense, and I don't think they played bad. They were put into a lot of tough positions. This is what teams did in 2018. This is what the Bears defense was doing to people. They were turning the ball over, giving the offense a short field. Tom Brady didn't have to do anything today. Just make some throws. Like, he didn't really do a whole lot, and yet they still killed the Bears because they had that short field. The defense was put into a lot of tough positions. But Matt Nagy isn't a defensive head coach.
Yeah.
He's an offensive head coach, and his team scored 3 points.
And I'll even further that. It's like sometimes your team just shits the bed. We saw what happened to Green Bay week 1 against the Saints. You're able to just brush that off and move forward.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this isn't that. This is a team slowly unraveling.
Yeah.
Yeah. At this point, it may not even be slowly. Like they're the one thing that we've always applauded Matt Nagy for, and whether or not you think this makes him a good head coach or not, is that he set a culture and guys really liked him. Like he seems to be a player's coach. They haven't given up on him. And we've noted this a couple of weeks. That's starting to change. That's starting to, because you made the point on our last pod, and if you guys haven't checked that out, I think it's still worth a listen. Is, when is this defense just going to be like, dude, enough? Keep us off the fucking field at the very least. Like take these deep shots. Like open up the offense. Like these guys are humans. They see what's happening. Like at a certain point, your like for someone as a person in these types of situations starts to be superseded by their ability to do their job. Like, I feel like we've all had that coworker, like as a person, great, but you had to work with him and it was like fucking terrible. Like if we can go grab a few beers, great conversation. But if I have the same shift as you, dude, I'm going to have a bad time. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like that's what's starting to happen here. But yeah, I mean, it's, again, these are I'm not rooting for it because everything in me would love for Matt Nagy to figure this fucking thing out, and we just look like the Chiefs of a couple years ago. You know what I mean? But it's just not going to happen. So when these types of losses happen, that's only another notch. I feel like I'm in jail, like counting down the days and have like a chalk on the side of the wall, like 1, 2. You know what I mean? I'm just counting the bad moments for Matt Nagy to get him out of here.
It really feels like, and probably only Chicago listeners will get this. I know we have a few, Wisconsinites listening to this podcast, and especially when it comes to the angry reactions when the Bears lose. That's what they look for. That's what they come here. That's what they get off on. Because we can't just have a good quarterback. They have to criticize Justin Fields at every single turn. It's weird, Frank. I'm just going to say.
Yeah,
it's weird.
But again, I think it's weird from them. I think it's weird from Bears fans, dude. Do you not
they
know
just
what you expect from a rookie? Like, I feel like you were a meatball if you came into this year like the defense will be it, and Justin's an immediate upgrade. It's like, dude, he's a rookie, bro. You don't put that on rookies.
And Romo was saying that, and I was very happy that Romo was saying, because they took a second to talk about the some of the rookie quarterbacks and how they were playing, and it's like it's not as simple as like Andrew Luck, Robert Griffin III, Russell Wilson. That was an aberration. It truly was, that they come in year one and they just dominate the league. And it's like,
you know what though? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, like, for anyone that's really worried about Justin Fields, go look at Peyton Manning's numbers in his first season and tell me if you're concerned still. I'm not saying that Justin Fields is going to be Peyton Manning, but just because a guy is struggling in his 5th start does not mean that his career is over. That's just not how it works.
Yeah.
And all I was going to say, Frank, when I was comparing it to saying about the Chicago listeners, it's just so sad that, like, we finally exercised the demon for the Bulls, where we got rid of Jim Boylan. We got rid of Garpax. We have this brand new, like, GM and this head coach, and we got new players, and we're like, it turned the corner. It feels good to be a Bulls fan again. And it just sucks that we're, like, back to, like, what you said, chalking up the days, waiting for Ryan Pace, Matt Nagy. Just go. Get the fuck out of here. We're done with you. We've had enough.
Yeah. Yeah, and really, the only I just had a quick rebuttal to the things is, like, even Andrew Luck had his share of struggles his rookie year. Like, he turned the ball over a lot. I mean, that's what rookies do. He turned it over a ton. Like, it took him a few years really to figure out the turnover issues. It just was what it was, but he was so good that you just keep on with the game plan because he was good enough to overcome that. And you think of, like, RG3, no disrespect to him, I don't think even if he doesn't tear the ACL, that was a fad. That was the first RPO offense. It was like, you look at the success of these rookies, is what I'm saying. A lot of it is like smoke and mirrors. Like, the only one off the top of my head I can think of that I was like, dude, this dude is just legit beating defenses from the pocket and looks like a pro was last year, Justin Herbert. I was like, what the fuck am I watching right? And even Joe Burrow before he got hurt. Yeah. It was like, man, like, these guys just look, and it's again, to your ultimate point, in which you are correct, is it's an anomaly. Those are anomalies. That doesn't, like, look at Aaron Rodgers when he finally started after 4 years. Everyone's like, well, Pat Mahomes sat what? Aaron Rodgers sat 4 years and he had a 6-10 season and he looked like a rookie quarterback, because that's pretty much still what he was. Like, this isn't indicative of anything. He needs to get the reps, get this out of his system, learn from it, understand it, and go from there. It's he's seeing defenses that he's never seen before. Just because College defenses can't do what NFL defenses can. So I'm not worried in the slightest. If we're having some of these issues in year 4, year 5, then I'll be open to talk. I'm not going to sit here and critique to death a rookie quarterback. That's fucking stupid. And anyone who's doing it, you're stupid too. Unless it's Zach Wilson because he's terrible.
Come on, man. The guy got hurt. Cut him.
He did get hurt. I'm sorry,
Zach.
Zach.
Some slack. Yeah.
But I thought you were going to be bad when they drafted you.
He is ass. That is true.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think that's really it from us, Frank. I mean, like I said, I'm not necessarily mad about the outcome of the game in terms of, final score or anything like that. I you and I both thought that this would be a tough game for the Bears to win anyways. But I think there is, and honestly, the doubt that Justin Fields has created in people, I'm not going to say it's totally unwarranted because there is some things he needs to improve on. But I think that should be exciting for Bears fans is the fact that he, can improve on that. There's still plenty of time. You see the quick passes. You saw, I'll leave you with this, Frank. What I hate to see the most is the fact that everything offensively for the Bears looks difficult. They can just never just put together a solid drive. Everything looks like it's just fought nail and tooth for, like you're just scrapping for every first down, even in garbage time. When it's like, just get some yards, get some fantasy love, throw a meaningless touchdown to Allen Robinson, help some people out. And they just don't do it. They just can't fucking do it. It's rough, man.
Remember, I said that like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was like, that's sort of what separates just a regular professional offense because they can do things in garbage time. Like Mark Trestman's teams were fucking winning fantasy leagues because in garbage time, Jay was lighting it the fuck up. We can't beat prevent defenses, bro. Like this is bad.
Yeah,
it's bad. And this is what I'll leave everyone with before we get out of here. Jack has noted quite a few times that I'm not the one in season to want to really talk about the future because all it takes is like a 4-game win streak and the offense is scoring 30 points and going to be like, hey, maybe they figured it out. I think it's pretty safe to say that's not going to happen. So what I want to do is in the very near future, probably in the next few weeks, is just have a whole episode sort of chronicling why we want Matt Nagy gone and just sort of the fraud of the offensive genius of it. I think it's going to be a fun little project to put together just to kind of piece together things and kind of, how did we get here type of thing. So yeah, we're there. We're at that point. The only unfortunate thing is that we don't have our first round pick, but it would have been, in a regular year like this, if we don't have the guy who we think is our franchise guy, it would have been for a quarterback anyway. So it's like, who cares? Let's scout, let's build around this kid and move forward. So appreciate y'all for listening. Like, share, subscribe. This is a YouTube exclusive. Our full podcast will be coming out on Wednesday. I doubt we're going to touch really anything more. We'll probably touch on the press conferences after Matt Nagy tells us, we need to find out the whys. And then we'll go from there. Later, everybody.
Later, guys.